This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at cologuard.com/screen.
Hello and welcome back to the Cardiff Central podcast. On the back of a seemingly quite positive Six Nations for Wales, we'll be looking back at the progress made by Steve Tandy's men before looking ahead to a huge 2 months or so of club action as Cardiff get the final part of the season underway with the annual trip to South Africa. Joining me on the pod this week got Frazier Stroud. Fraser, how are you?
Yeah, feeling pretty chipper after the weekend. Yeah, not bad.
It's definitely nice to have a positive run back into club rugby. And Tony Esposito. Tony, how are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. Sorry, I'm trying to get the merch right in. So.
For those on YouTube, we have got our new merch line out. Tony is modelling the mug, and obviously sales will now go through the roof on the back of that. We'll start this week then, before getting back into the club action, with the Six Nations that just finished after our pods in the middle of the tournament. Wales got back into action, pushing Ireland close with a 27-17 loss in Dublin in round 4 before beating Italy on Saturday in Super Saturday. 31-17, a first Six Nations win for Wales for 3 years, and a generally quite exciting day as well on Saturday of rugby. Fraser, I suppose the tournament itself, I've never been too fussed on the Six Nations, and I just felt like it sort of interrupted the club season a little bit. But with I think the lack of fallow week sort of helped the momentum as well, only having one of them, and then just the general quality of games. Was that the best Six Nations we've enjoyed?
I think it probably is, to be fair. Especially, I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get to see as many games as I wanted because I've got a 7-month-old child who's incredibly selfish. So he took all my attention. But yeah, I think overall, I think that the fallow week kind of going away definitely does help the momentum, and it's just keeps it in your mind. So it's quite exciting in that sense. And there's just almost every game has jeopardy. Obviously, the first 2 games of Wales we weren't. Of course, they weren't games that had jeopardy, but I think now beating Italy and Italy beating England, and just anyone could beat anyone on their day, and that didn't used to exist. And props to Italy, I guess, in particular for developing so much in recent years, wherein now every game is interesting and there's something in it. And then not only that, the games that happened were mad. I didn't see the England-France match, but I just looked at the score and I was like, what the fuck happened there? And it doesn't make any sense. There's no sense to it. It doesn't seem there's any logic. Why did Scotland put so many points on France? So where did that come from? I know Scotland have been pretty good, but did not see that coming. England scored that many points. Obviously they lost, thank God. But yeah, it's just it was very unpredictable, and you just couldn't see what was going to come next. And I think that's only that means that it's probably better than it's ever been. And I'm excited, can't wait for the next year already. Obviously, we've ended on a high, so I want to, play again. But yeah, I thought it was brilliant, to be fair.
Yeah, the 7-month-old means you can't watch it. I'm at the 3-year-old stage, and what it means for me is that I have to huddle over a laptop in the corner while Peppa Pig plays loudly on the main telly. I had it for a bit of the Wales game, and then I lost it again. So back to the laptop then for me.
Whereas I'm at the 9 and nearly 6 stage, and one went to Ninja Warrior and one went to her friend's house for pretty much most of the day. So we only had them for the evening when we were playing. I think we were playing a board game while Joe and I were still watching the TV. So.
Still to come for us. Looking forward to those days. Tony, what do we make of Wales's campaign? All in all, still finished last, but with that win and a bit closer to England, as it turned out, when the team we were a bit closer to. But is it a positive one overall, or does how bad we were in those first 2 rounds sort of overshadow what came after?
I think Wales's Six Nations is basically split into 2 parts. There was the PB part and the AB part, and that's obviously James Botham coming on 10 minutes into the Scotland game, because from that moment on, Wales had a balanced back row of man, Botham and Botham and Wainwright, and from there the pack looked so much better because it was able to compete to the breakdown, and then the backs look better. I think that's part of why Costello looked so good, and Thomas has looked so good in that game, and then that, like, you can see a really good comparison is how well Edwards played in the last game compared to how he played in the first two. If you Wales started to get front football and were a lot more competitive at the rucks and dominantly in the tackle, and that allowed the scrum half and 9, 10, 12 to play on the front foot a lot more, and therefore they've looked a lot better, right? Like, rugby's a simple game when you're going forward.
Fraser, what did you make of Wales's campaign overall?
Yeah. I mean, like objectively, that's kind of the minimum we hoped for was like beating Italy. There's a one win, but like I think the momentum and just seeing the changes in the team and like the Scotland game, and I was worried he wouldn't be able to back it up, and then we did that against Ireland, even though he lost. I felt great after that game, and then to then back it up again and just incrementally get better. Especially defensively, we just looked so much more solid. I mean, there was a point in that Italy match though when Ioane almost scored that try, and it was like a knee. Yeah, that was just before he put it down. If they had scored then, I was just like, oh, we fucked it again. We're going to lose like 33-31 or something stupid. I was just like certain that was going to happen. So, it wasn't all like amazing for the Italy game. We did we have that tendency when we bring on our subs to really dip. I don't think the subs are bad necessarily, but there's definitely a real shift, and we can't seem to hold that momentum. And I think that was seen in every game, but like in particular Scotland, Ireland, and then Italy, it happened again. So I think there's obviously still work-ons, but yeah, I think it was nice to see us progress and like some of the combinations starting to click. Obviously, the back row looked brilliant, and we've got Jack Morgan to come back in, which obviously he will come back in, but that is going to be really harsh on whoever has to drop out or what the decision is. But yeah, I think ultimately for the last three games you saw a team that genuinely believed they could win, and they were actually test match, and that's been years since we've actually gone into games against quality opposition, and I felt right, we could win this, and we're making it a game. So overall, like ending that session, I felt really happy, and I'm excited to see what we then can continue to build on and how we can progress into the Nations Championship or whatever it is.
It was very reminiscent of Cardiff from a couple of years ago, I think, where they looked like a team who could play rugby and believed they could play rugby, but were then struggling to get over the line because they hadn't been in a winning position. So it was seeing out games, like you were saying, like became a difficult thing. But they were getting closer and closer, and hopefully this Italy one, there were mistakes, but they still managed to get themselves over the line. So hopefully that now is a catapult forward for them to know what that mentality needs to be.
Yeah, and I think what Fraser said is interesting as well, like looking to where they can go, because Saturday's performance, that first hour was great. There was a lot to like about that. I think, not to be too like Debbie Downer on it, but there is an element of Italy were clearly like emotionally hungover from that England game in that first part of that of Saturday as well. Like they kicked the ball away a lot. They just didn't look quite at the races. But I thought Wales, there was a lot wrong with Wales' performance as well. That line out was really quite poor in the first half. Not necessarily. I don't think it was any one person. Just general connection wise, they looked like they'd only just met the line out time, a couple of them, and then I lost count of how many really good turnover ball opportunities we just did not take advantage of at all, whether it was just sort of really quite boring, shifting it down the line, not engaging defenders, and you can get a full on Jiffy impression here of like run straight and all this sort of stuff and numbers and all that. But it's true, like we don't do that very well. And then there was also, we love Alex Mann on this podcast, and he's been great over the course of Six Nations. But that kicking away when there was like three men outside him in the second half, I suspect if we hadn't won, somebody would have been slamming their head off the desk there, because that was a really tough moment for the team as well. But you look at where Wales are, and they played really well and they've got the win, but there's so many levels they can go to, and they've got they've shown they've got the talent, and I think the coaches have shown that they've got the ability to coach this team up as well. And so there's a lot to like about that. I think the other thing to say about the coaches, and we as Cardiff fans know that Danny Wilson's a great communicator from his time as our head coach, and then we know that Jockey's a great communicator from his time as our head coach as well. But I think Steve Tandy's also proved that, I think the messaging from the camp there has just been really spot on throughout the whole tournament of, we're not going to come out and eviscerate players when we haven't played very well. We're going to be honest about where we are, and we're going to be honest about how we're slowly building up. And that I don't necessarily buy into always like, oh, you need a Welsh coach and all this sort of stuff. But I think Tandy being Welsh at this moment in time and getting what the players are about and what the country needs has also been quite a help, really. And yeah, I also just quite like his voice as well. So it's quite a good commanding voice. When he speaks, you're like, yeah, I can get on board with this guy. You know what he's saying. So, no, good stuff. Fraser, I guess, like, having said all that, like, are we saying Wales are back now? Or look at that next game. I think it's Fiji away, in quotation marks, in Leckwith. This is the first game of the Nations Championship. And if they go the rest of the year and don't get another win, is that sort of like back to square one a little bit? Do they need to go and get some more results now the rest of this year?
Well, Fiji would be the one they're targeting. It's quite a few difficult fixtures, isn't it? So I think you've got to go into that looking to beat them, even if it's miles away in that curve. I think we need to continue on this trajectory and the progression, because it is gradual and it's getting better, but there's still that pressure on. If we lost to Fiji, we could then go on to lose our next couple of games, then the doubts start coming to start being raised again. So I think we definitely turned a corner in terms of competitiveness. Like the Scotland and Ireland match, I wasn't sad about losing those, but now we've got that monkey off our back, that fucking monkey that's been on for ages. You think that should be like Tony said, that should change the mentality. That's where we need to be. We saw out that Italy game despite not being as good as we could have been, and allowing them back in the second half, and really, they pushed us a lot there. So I think we need to go into that Fiji game looking to get another victory and start the ball rolling.
I'd love them to treat it like a proper away game and like be based in the Vale, but then go and stay at like St David's in the Bay or something like that for one night before the game, just because we are away, so we have to go into a different hotel to do
Stay
it.
in the halfway. Stay in the halfway pub. Just
Yeah, that would be good. Tony, Cardiff player wise, we didn't end up with a huge amount of representation sort of consistently in the team over the course of the tournament. We fell away a little bit as it went on. But how did those lads that were turning out? As you mentioned, both of them, we've had Mann and Adams in there as well. How did they get on?
I was really pleased that Mann broke the tackle record first off. He was absolutely immense all the way through. He was brilliant. But also, I was really pleased that Adams got a lot of praise, especially in the last game, because we've seen him play well now for the last 18 months or so, if not longer, for Cardiff. But nobody seemed to recognise it internationally, because he wasn't scoring the amount of tries that he used to score. But he's still providing that experience level, and especially with a lot of younger, more inexperienced players around him, he was invaluable. Also, he's a scrum half trapped in a wing's body. He loves a scrap. I love just like, if you ever get bored at a Cardiff game, which can happen, just stand and watch what Josh Adams does. He's a right niggly little so-and-so. It's hilarious to watch. And teams need that.
I got really frustrated with those comments throughout the tournament. Like, oh, he's not, we're not seeing prime Josh Adams. Like, no, he's not prime Josh Adams anymore. Like, stop comparing him to when he was like the best winger or one of the best wingers in the world. Like, World Cup 2019 through to that Lions tour a couple of years before that as well. Like, he was up there. He's not quite that level anymore. That's okay. It happens. Players get a bit older. They pick up a few injuries and stuff. It does. He is old for a test winger. You look at like New Zealand, and I think they sort of, in the similar vein to a Leonardo DiCaprio girlfriend, get binned off once they turn like sort of 27. But Josh Adams is still there, 30 odds, and he's not going to be scoring tons of tries and beating loads of defenders, but he'll offer you leadership, and he'll offer you. He's still one of the best defensive wingers in the world, I think. Just his reading of the game out wide, his work under the high ball, and yeah, like a lot of people. I think that red card in the autumn, they're like, oh, he's hot-headed or a liability. He just plays on the edge.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay,
little so and so.
Occasionally you step over the edge. I'd much rather somebody who played on the edge and occasionally stepped over it than was just passive and quite nicey and shaking hands with players as they ran around them. Like, you don't want that at all. So yeah, I did find that quite bizarre. Fraser, any sort of a comment on the Cardiff guys if you want, or just generally who stood out for you in the Wales squad?
Well, yeah, I'd just echo Josh Adams. I mean, he's only 30. I mean, he's 31 in April, I think, but I thought he was like late 30s or something. I thought he was like over the hill. I don't know. I got really confused as to his age. But I think that last game, he looked closer to what he has been before, and he was finding gaps and like beating defenders, and it's like that. Haven't seen that in a Wales shirt for a while, and like seeing that, I was like, yes, okay, proving what he's shown at Cardiff for a long time. But yeah, I was very happy for him. And then in terms of like non-Cardiff, I guess yeah, Thomas Francis was. I think he was pretty important. I mean, I know fuck all about scrummaging, but our scrummage was better, and he was there. So I was like, okay, well, there's a correlation. So I think he definitely helped in terms of set piece and looking more stable, and just like the scrum was a solid. I wasn't worried that we'd get absolutely obliterated at any point. I mean, take away like the England match in particular, but he was great. And then Ben Carter was, I think, superb as like alongside David Jenkins, kind of goes without saying, but yeah, Ben Carter was like, he's kind of seems like he's cementing himself there. Obviously, you'll see what Teddy Williams when he gets back what happens, but Ben Carter's done really well. And then Eddie James, I think, kind of was a reflection of the team as a whole. That kind of gradual progression, like fitting into that role of 13 and getting better game on game, and he looks like a real talent that could be there for a long time. And then you got Carey, who's fucking great. I love Carey. Yeah.
Tony, any names that stood out to you?
Wainwright. I have an obsession with back row players, it seems.
You have to clarify Aaron Wainwright, because Sam was in the squad technically.
Oh, he was, wasn't he? But, so it was Sam that stood out for me. Love the way he holds the tackle bag. No, but Aaron Wainwright was phenomenal. Is it Leicester he's signed for next year?
Yeah.
That's a massive loss for the Dragons. Just as they're starting to turn a corner as well, and it's just. But yeah, he was superb. I'm trying to think. Outside of that, we've mentioned me, haven't we? Not Meanie. Meanie plays for the Scarlets.
It's all about you.
It's all about me. I thought he really grew into the competition as well, much like Eddie James did. But yeah,
and like Fraser mentioned, Dav Jenkins goes without saying, but like I think that spine of that pack of Derry Lake, of Dav Jenkins and Wainwright, that's such a good spine now that Wales have sort of redeveloped, and it obviously looks better then when you put the pieces around them that make them work a bit better as well. But yeah, like I think we've become so accustomed to those guys just churning out good performances. But Derry Lake in particular, so I hadn't really thought too much about a team of the tournament generally, but I saw one that somebody did, and they put Lake at hooker, and I was like, actually, yeah, like he probably has been the best hooker in the competition over the course of the entire thing. I think some guys have had individually better games, maybe, but like his carrying and his physicality at the line is so important. And there was a tackle and turnover he made on Ioane in the wide channel, maybe early in the second half on the weekend, and you're like, yeah, that's just little moments like that where I think Sam Warburton likened him to sort of Alan Wynne-Jones in terms of how Jack will be the captain when he comes back, but Dewi is the sort of like emotional barometer of that team. Like he is the shouting and screaming leader, which Morgan's not going to quite do, and he is so important in that sense. So,
which is why the interviews with him were sad but also funny, because you could just see how upset he was for the entire time until the last one. So when Dave Redding came in to try and steal his thunder.
I do think Aaron Wainwright is not only a loss to Dragons, but if he was going to leave the Dragons, I'd love to have known if Cardiff, if they had been in a position to go and make him an offer or something, if he was tempted. Because if Faletau is leaving at the end of the season, or we could have had that Botham man Wainwright back row at the Arms Park every week, and you're like, you would have just been absolutely on our plastic pitch, just stepping past
imagine
people.
how annoyed everyone else would be.
Oh, and there was also that element as well, yeah, which we have lost out on. But yeah,
It's
that I think
delicious.
that would have been great for us. But not to be. Maybe in a few years we'll be in a position to it'd be us who can tempt him back from Leicester when he wants to come home. But yeah, I think that's it for the seniors. Just to mention the under-20s quickly, is that their campaign gone slightly the other way to the senior team in that it kind of started quite well and fizzled out a little bit over the last 2 weeks. They lost 48-33 in Ireland and then lost 13-20 to Italy on Sunday, which that was stupid having them play. Surely they could have had all the under-20s on the Friday night as a proper warm-up for the senior one. So I thought that was a bit stupid. Also, if you go and play in Newport and then you get stuck in bad weather, it's your own fault, I'm afraid. Like, just play all the games at the Arms Park is so much better. But yeah, they lost 13-20 to Italy in some real tough conditions at Rodney Parade. I don't. We spoke quite a lot in the last two pods about the Cardiff guys that have stood out there, and they all just kept playing and kept doing quite well, to be honest. So yeah, there wasn't too much else. There was quite a lot of injuries from other players. Sean Davis went off quite early on Sunday, which was a bit disappointing to see. His shoulder looked in quite a lot of pain, so hopefully it's not too bad for him. Tony, you look like you're going to say something.
I was wondering whether the downturn in results would have been linked to the fact that during the fallow week, those lads, or quite a few of those under-20s, were involved with pro teams, weren't they? So
Yeah.
I do wonder whether there's that element that they've played a lot of rugby, so it was going to naturally happen.
Yeah.
We were quite lucky where we could not. I don't think Tom Bowen played against Ulster, did he?
He didn't come on in the end. He was
No,
an unused substitute, wasn't he?
but even so, he's still gone through warm-ups and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Still had to prepare for a game, so that's going to take it out of him. Like, it's not an excuse, but hasn't the Scarlets lad whose name I can never pronounce?
Leggett Jones.
Yeah, I keep thinking his first name's Carwin, isn't it?
Yeah.
I keep thinking his surname's Carwin Leggett.
So three
Although that
names in
might be,
some order.
although that might be something that you have to just shout at him. Sorry, it's a real dad joke. So yeah, like our under-20s have obviously played a lot of rugby, and they've still stepped up and played pro rugby in that fallow week, whereas the men's internationals don't. So maybe that fallow week actually helped the Welsh team. So
There's also a slightly different approach, I thought, from the 20s, where sort of in previous years we've seen them use the Six Nations as almost like a sort of extended trial period for the Junior World Cup, and they've used probably closer to like 40 players or so throughout the whole competition, chopped and changed a bit, whereas particularly across the first four rounds, they used almost the same sort of squad. I think they probably wouldn't have used more than 30 players before the game on the weekend. There was a couple of changes there because, well, like Leggett Jones was playing for the Scarlets on Friday, and a couple of knocks that they picked up along the way. But yeah, I don't know whether that maybe stands them in slightly better stead for the Junior World Cup because they've had a lot more experience and they've had more time blended as a team. So yeah, you run out of legs at the end of the Six Nations, but you're in a better spot for the Junior World Cup, or whether it was just a sort of needs must and there just maybe isn't the depth available to them either. They didn't need an extended trial period because there wasn't as many people pushing for positions. I don't know, but well, I suppose we'll find out when I think it's in Georgia this summer. And we always seem to end up in some sort of pool of death playing New Zealand, France, and then one random like Spain or something pops up. So we'll see how they get on in that. But
after the news this week, they got to be careful what they drink in Georgia, right?
so certainly got to be careful whose urine sample you're supplying. Right. Anything else on the Six Nations for anybody? We shall draw a line under that. International rugby's done. Back to the important business of club rugby. But we'll have a bit of news from Cardiff over the last few weeks. Nothing particularly major. A couple of guys have been involved in Prem Cup action over in England. Joe Cowell and Will Davis King both went to Northampton for a short stint. I think that's Joe Cowell's like fifth team of the season he's ended up turning out for now. Both at loosehead and tight head, so he's going to be dead confused at some point about who he's playing for and what position he's in. If he has a HIA, don't expect him to come back. He's not got a clue. And then Johan Emmanuel and Ian Davis both went back to Bath as part of their agreements of spending the season on loan with us. So they've played Prem Cup and then also a random friendly against Bedford, which I don't really know what that was about, but they played in that one as well. Then club have started trailing season memberships for the 150th season. I think they're hoping to go on sale in the next week or two. We'll see what added extras might be involved around the 150th season element of it as well. The graphics are very exciting, certainly. So
what's the word that they're using to describe the season, Dan?
Yeah, it's a word. It's definitely a word. Sesquicentennial, I think. It's too long even for countdown, so it's very massive. But yeah, that'll go on sale soon. And then just a bit of transfer stuff. We were quite heavily linked with Christians from Exeter at one point, but Neil Fissler and Rugby Pass reporting that he signed to go to Sale. It appears sort of some varying rumours on just how in for him we actually were at any point. Some will say maybe not quite as in for him as the article makes out, but an interesting choice for him. Obviously, I think today, as we're recording the pod on Tuesday, Dan Duprier has been announced as leaving Sale and going to Bath, so he seems like a sort of natural replacement to go in there as your kind of 4-6. But how that impacts his international eligibility, as he's not got 25 caps yet, remains to be seen. A kind of varying reaction on social media as well, with some saying a loss to not have him and Teddy together, and others sort of thinking he's quite overrated and it's actually not a loss at all. So only time will tell on that one, I guess. At this point of the pod then, if you're enjoying what you're listening to, please feel free to like and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're on. If you're watching us on YouTube, like the Rap channel and like the video, leave us a comment. As Tony once again is displaying for those of you watching, I think you can watch us on Spotify and possibly on Apple now as well. But there's the mug, and we've got a few other little bits of merch on the shop, which will be in a link somewhere down below or on our social media. And plenty of other podcasts going up all the time, as well as club action gets back into way the next few weeks, as well as the women's pod back up and running, because the Women's Six Nation appears on the horizon now. The men have got their precursor out the way. We'll move on to Rags Corner then. The Cardiff RFC were back in SRC action. RFC SRC, quite difficult to say as it turns out. Last weekend, they played Aberavon at the Talbot Athletic Ground. 24-28 win, a really good win that one, considering no under-20s, a fair few injuries as well. Tries from Craig Hudd, Joe Goodchild, and a brace on full debut for 18-year-old Evan Nichols and Gasu, who has only just finished playing for Cardiff under-18s and is stepping up to play for the Rags. 3 conversions for Harry Wild and 1 for Matty Young randomly as well. We're not quite sure what happened to Wild, whether it was an injury or planned substitution, but Matty Young steps up to slot one over. So Cardiff go outright second in the SRC for now. They had so that was a weekend before last weekend. They had a weekend off, and then they're back in action this weekend away at Pontypool Park, Saturday 2:30 kickoff. Pontypool currently bottom of the league. The chief effect hasn't quite kicked in there yet, with Dale McIntosh going there on the coaching staff. They've lost the last 2 weekends, so they've been in SRC action away to Bridgend and then away to Swansea.
Some might say the chief effect has kicked in.
Well, I personally, I would never say that. And if the chief is listening, I love the chief and would never say anything bad about it. But yeah, if others want to say that, then that's at their own personal risk, I think. Other bit of pathway news then. Wales under-18s kicked off their spring campaign over last weekend. There was a very healthy Cardiff contingent with Brian Kamanga, Isaac Jones, Harry Lewis, Alfie Progodzic, who captained the side, Will Watkins, Will Adams, Harvey Bryant, Johan Dacey, George Thomas, Owen Lewis, and Harry Kinsey all involved. Particular nod to Harry Lewis there, playing for Wales under-18s, but he's still under 16. I think he's still in year 11 in school, but is on scholarship at Llandovery via an academy contract at Cardiff as well. So one to keep an eye on there. So nice to see us signing up a second row, as we've usually lost them by now to England. They've been tempted somewhere else, so that's good to see. And obviously Johan Dacey recognisable surname. I think he's Chris's nephew. Not Gavin's son either. They've got a sister apparently, and it's her child. So there must be a Dacey family contingent coming through, and there's just going to be loads of them in a couple of years. They'll be everywhere.
Didn't Glantaff's under nines win some tournament in England as well?
I think the year nines. I don't think you can go to. I don't think if you can go to Glantaff if you're under nine. I think
I
you're
mean,
still too young. Yes, the Glantaff. I think they. I don't think they won it. I think they've made it to the final of some sort of national schools competition involving England and Wales.
it was the under 14s. I'm just looking
Yeah.
at it now.
So that is
Grand
year
British
nine.
champions.
Oh, they've won it, have they?
They lifted the School Sport Magazine National Schools Under 14 Rugby Cup after beating Northampton School for Boys 39-12, a top selective state school. So
There we go. I've read an article about Northampton School for Boys on the BBC website. They neglected to mention that they'd lost to Glantaff on that, but they seem to supply about 10 players to the England and 18 program, so that's a good victory for them. And that year group at Glantaff seems to be quite successful. I think while they were at year 8, they got to the final of Rugby League competition last year as well. So
I'm surprised Fordy hasn't been more over it.
Oh, yeah, he probably has, but I've just muted him when he started talking about it. Right, we shall move on then for the final part of the pod to look ahead to Cardiff's return to action. To give the full context of where they are, because there's been a couple of games played in the URC during the Six Nations, the South Africans, and a couple of rearranged games have caught up. So we've slipped down to 5th while we've been off. At the moment, it's Glasgow top, then Stormers, Ulster, Leinster, and Cardiff are separated by just 5 points from 1st to 5th, and then you've got Munster on 39, the Fidelity Secure Drive Lions, which I feel like is new. They've added some extra company names there, but they're on 33. The Bulls 30, Connacht 30, Ospreys 29, and then a bit of a gap down to Sharks 24, Edinburgh 23, Benetton 23, and then a couple of other Welsh no-hopers at the bottom. The Cardiff fixtures for the rest of the season, as things stand, are Bulls away, Sharks away, Benetton away in the Challenge Cup, and then Scarlets away, Ospreys home, Glasgow away, and Stormers home. With, if we were to beat Benetton, a couple of other away trips in there, because we're not away enough in this last part of the season. We need to go on the road a bit more in those games as well if we were to make them. Fraser, what are we hoping for from? Well, I suppose you could put the next 3 weeks in together at this point a little bit with the trip to South Africa and then Benetton afterwards. Obviously, ideally 3 wins, but how would we approach that if you were Cornel van Zyl? And is there any games in particular you might target, or are we just going to try and win them all?
I think he's gonna. I think we probably should is take these 2 games in South Africa with a little bit of not experimenting, but just being careful, like changing the squad around a little bit because they're really difficult games, and realistically, it's going to be very hard to get a result or to get a victory at least. I think maybe aiming at bonus points in the Bulls and the Sharks. And then I think Benetton is eminently winnable. I know, like it's that kind of balance between prioritising Challenge Cup of the League. I think we should go and try and beat Benetton. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be expecting to win there, even if it is away. I think we should do that, and we should have most of our Welsh contingent back by then. And I think with the Bulls and Sharks, I would probably rest those players. I think I would personally advocate for obviously going to trying to win, but I think aiming for bonus points because I guess they'll have all their South African players available, I imagine, or.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works, but yeah, the only one who won't be assuming for the Sharks, I think Etzebeth's still banned from the Alex Mann eye gouge. I think ours is the last game, so he won't be around round. But yes, the others will be.
Yeah, so they'll be tough proposition. I know that neither of them had very good seasons so far, and they're not infallible at home. But I think it will be a tricky task, altitude and all that kind of stuff. So I would be looking to get some bonus points here and there and see where we go, and maybe prioritize Benetton in terms of getting the full team out there. I don't know what you guys think, but
Tony, have you got any strong feelings on how we go for it?
No, I think go in with a view of trying to pick up bonus points is probably the right way. Throw it around, get the lads going, like win it. I'm looking forward to seeing on those hard and fast tracks, and I'm not sure who else we've actually taken out there. When you mentioned about Matty Young kicking a penalty against or kicking a conversion against Aberravon, I did wonder whether that was about him going to South Africa, and it's just, oh well, we'll give him this one, see if just so he can get back into the groove of kicking it over in game, because he's got a big old boot on him as well, isn't he? So there's it sounds defeatist, but going for bonus points and especially chasing losing ones can put you in the position to then capitalize on mistakes in the last quarter where you can win games. I was looking at who the refs that have gone out to South Africa, because that's always a fun thing. We've got that Owen Cross, the Irish guy. I think he's been involved with us 8 times, 4 times as a TMO, 4 times as a ref, and we've done all right out of him. Looking at the TMO, it's Necky. So that suggests we've got Necky as a ref against the Sharks then, because they tend to flip him, don't they?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that the Dragons are out there as well, so they've got Brace, I think, this weekend, and presumably somebody else on TMO. So we might have one of them refereeing us next weekend. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they'll do it, but it'll be one of those guys who are out there this weekend, also next weekend.
But in reality, it don't really make a difference, because, like Fraser said, if we go and try and play ball and get bonus points with tries, then we're putting ourselves in a position where we can finish teams off. And these teams, like, we've had a decent. We beat Sharks. We nailed Sharks out there a couple of years ago, didn't we? And made them sack their boss. Let's try and do that again. That's always fun.
Yeah,
that's a little bit why I wonder if they might see these 2 games as just 2 slight, like not as in a blanket South Africa trip, but we're going to Bulls first on Friday. Yeah. It's Loftus Fairfield. It's 4,000 kilometers above sea level or whatever it is. Like, there's no air, 1% oxygen or something. Like, I wonder if they might almost throw that game, not actually throw it, but like look at it and be like, right, does Josh McNally need to play in this game necessarily? No. Do we play some of the youngsters? Does Matty Young play in this one? Do we give like some minutes to guys who are coming back from injury and just get some minutes in their legs? Do we haul people off at 50 minutes no matter what? If guys have been in we don't know the exact squad that's gone out. I know that I spoke to the club and I asked if there was going to be a squad list. They are not going to do a squad list because they don't really want to let the Bulls know exactly who's gone out there and give them the sort of advantage. They're just going to wait till the team's announced on Thursday, which I sort of get. But but we think that probably, your man Botham, Adams definitely haven't gone this week, and a couple of the other guys have, Belcher, Ben Thomas, Azarati and stuff. But I wonder if they might rest them for this week, bin the Bulls game off, and go really hard at the Sharks the week after and try and get a win there, knowing that we have beaten them out there before. They're once again, despite their mad squad list where they can put out like an almost Springbok team, having a terrible season. So I do wonder if they might go with that approach. But yeah, just like generally, I don't think anybody's expecting a win from Cardiff out there in the Cardiff support. If we came home with sort of 2 bonus points, I think generally the feeling would be that's quite a successful trip out there and go hard at Benetton. But my only question, Fraser, a little bit is if we say got a bonus point and played really well against Bulls on Friday, and there was the option to then fly Botham and Adams out for that Sharks game next week, would you take that, or would you go and try and win that and really push on for deep into the playoffs, even if it compromised that Benetton game, or would you still just say no, give them the 2 weeks off and let's go for Benetton?
I think I'd probably give them 2 weeks off, if anything, just for their well-being, especially someone like Man just puts his body on the line. It's ridiculous. He's got no not self-worth, but he just doesn't care what happens to himself. It's incredible. Same, but all of them put in a hell of an effort. Bowen's really young as well, so I don't know if his really would be useful for him to be traveling out to South Africa. Like again, I would advocate for giving them a rest just to like maintain them for the rest of the season a little bit and make sure that they get to recover, because that Six Nations without the fallow week as well, that's a lot of rugby and that's very intense playing. And the way Wales play was defence heavy, effort heavy, like putting your body on the line. I think they'd probably need a 2 week. They've earned 2 weeks to just put their feet up. I mean, I bet you all of them are like, yeah, I'll play. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe both of them, because he was out for a while, so it's like he's kind of getting back into the swing of things and showing how brilliant he is. So if he is, I would maybe advocate for him to coming back in, but the others, I would say, give them the rest, let them put their feet up and try and relax if they can.
If we do ask Josh Adams to fly out to South Africa for one game, can I be in the room when he's asked, please? Because I can imagine the face would be absolutely. You want me to do what now? My legs are in bits, and you want me to sit on that plane for 9 hours? To play for 80 minutes to fly back 9 hours? You're having a laugh.
You get asked to get dropped at Benetton on the way past, so we didn't have to get back on the plane the following weekend. Yeah, it's an interesting point, because like it's just Cardiff are in a position. We're just not used to this position, I think, generally everywhere. We're like, how do we compete and properly do it? But yeah, I think I'd come down on player welfare and just like, especially like, yeah, Botham hasn't played quite as much of the others, and he could, but he's also got the longest injury record as well. Like, he does break down sort of semi-regularly, and that's not, I'm not surprised by the way he plays at all. But yeah, it's that if you're Cornel van Zyl, it's a real conundrum between like, I want all my best players and I think we can win, versus I have to be a bit self-restrained and be like, look after them as well.
I was laughing at you talking about Josh McNally possibly playing in that first game in low altitude, in high altitude with low oxygen and stuff, and I'm just thinking, no, just send him down to Hollywood where the Sharks play, and he can have an extra week down there having a party, and we'll pick him up on the way.
Yeah.
I presume it's Hollywood where the Sharks play, right? Like, that's their name, isn't it?
Hollywood Bets, yeah, the Hollywood Bet City.
My mistake.
Fraser, just looking ahead to not just the two games, but the sort of the back end of the season generally, where like there's some tough games for Cardiff, and there's a lot of the teams towards the top of the table that we've got to play with, a couple of Welsh derbies chucked in there as well for a good laugh. Where do Cardiff need to improve, or what do they need to focus on to get probably the 2 wins that we need to make sure that we're at least in the playoffs?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I'm not sure if there's anything specific in terms of work-ons or areas of improvement, because we have done well this season, obviously, look where we are, but it's mainly about being consistent and keeping up this level of performance. And obviously it's maintaining the squad, making sure you like avoiding injuries, which, almost impossible to do, but like trying your best to like not allow key players to get injured and avoiding that burnout. Because obviously we are managing the team well at the moment, and I think it's just that's, for me, it's like keeping that consistency and maintaining the level that we've set ourselves and not letting that drop, because that has happened in the past. The second half of the season we dropped off, down to harder fixtures, but also the squad not being deep enough to maintain it. So I think it's that delicate balance, like we talk about like wanting to play the best players but not playing them at certain times, or like prioritizing. I'd hate to be a coach. I'd be really bad at it, but that's a really difficult job that Van Zyl's got to do. But I think that would be the key point for me, is that consistency and level of performance. We've shown the way we beat Leinster was amazing. I wasn't on the pod, but listened, it was the best performance. Like that, we could have beaten them, should have beaten them more easily. It wasn't an 8-7 match. That was we'd won that match with quite convincingly, and they are a top team, regardless of whether they're not having the best season, even though they're on a run of 10 wins in a row. So it's like they are a brilliant team, and we showed that we are at that level on our day. So it's just keeping that ability to reach that and maintain that consistency, I think.
Tony, if I offer you a hypothetical, we sort of pick up 2 bonus points from South Africa somehow. We're either like a try bonus point, a losing bonus point in one, or just 2 try bonus points, and then we haven't called on like the top internationals, or we've left them. We've played a full strong team at Benetton away and won that. The following week, then, we're straight into the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup, which will be away against someone who I can't remember again. And then the following week, you've got Scarlets away and then Ospreys at home back to back. So we're right in the playoff mix, but we've got that quarterfinal. We've picked our strongest team against Benetton. Would you go again and try and pick your strongest team again in the quarterfinal, even knowing that that might compromise your performance in the two derbies? Or would you throw the quarterfinal and focus all on the URC at that point?
I want to win it all. That's not a there. I was just looking at the fixtures because I was confused, thinking when are those derby games, and I hadn't realised that the quarterfinal was the week after. But yeah, they don't care about supporters trying to get to those games, do they? So
Yeah,
yeah,
you got one day to sort out your travel.
yeah. It's a difficult one because one, I think it probably depends on who we would get if we beat Benetton. Depends on who we would play in the next round, and then is that the sort of team that we could play where we could mix and match the first team a little, so then we can go into the Scarlets Derbies games a bit more match fit, because there'll still be players like Adams and Mann and stuff like that. They'll have had 2 weeks off. They'll need a bit of game time against Benetton, you'd think, to get back up to speed, and then depending on how they get through that game, are we then restricted? Part of me just wants to go all out in the Challenge Cup, but also because I just like the Challenge Cup, but also the playoffs. Also, like, I just worry that we'll finish like 6th or something in the league, and then all of a sudden we'll just go out after one game, and then you'd be looking at the Challenge Cup semi and final and think we could beat both of those teams. We've beaten both of those teams this year or whatever it is, and like we could win another Challenge Cup and have 3, and all of a sudden are we then the most successful Welsh team because we've got 3 European trophies. But who knows? Like it's my heart says both. My head says both.
It's Exeter or Munster. I had a quick look then in the background. Away if we beat Benetton.
I think we could beat Munster away. I think we could beat Exeter away. Because at that point, would they have the same conundrums that we would be looking at that point? And yeah,
I think against Exeter we'd have some that match where they battered us in. We didn't do ourselves justice. There'd be like this kind of real, no, we're better than that. Don't let they think they're going to steamroll us again.
Exactly.
Anyway, bridges to cross when we get to them there, hopefully. We shall look ahead specifically to this weekend's game first. Then we've got Bulls against Cardiff. It's 5 o'clock on Friday, UK time. That well-known 5 p.m. kickoff slot that we all know and love. At the Loftus Versfeld. Premier Sports only for this one. If you haven't made the short trip to South Africa, it's the weather, it says, is warm but a threat of a thunderstorm out there. I don't know whether that actually helps or hinders. I've absolutely no idea at all, to be honest. But Bulls at the moment 8th in the URC. They've won 6, lost 6 from their 12 games. They're into the round of 16 in the Champions Cup, where they've got to go away to Glasgow in a few weeks. During the Six Nations, they've played a couple of their South African derbies. They both at home. They've beaten the Sharks and then last weekend lost to the Stormers. But head-to-head, they do have a slight upper hand since rejoining the URC in that they've beaten us 4 times in the 4 times that we played them so far. The most recent being a 45-21 defeat for us at Loftus Versfeld at the end of last season when we went out there. Team selection-wise, so we said we don't know the exact squad. What do we know for definite? Well, I've done a bit of Instagram snooping, and Belcher and Ben Thomas are definitely there.
Have you seen the video of Belcher launching the kit back?
Yes. Yeah. So if anyone hasn't seen it, go on to the Cardiff Rugby Instagram. But basically, they've turned up at the team hotel in South Africa, and so I think it's Josh McNally actually says we'll do it like the All Blacks do it, and they formed a human chain from the bus to the hotel and are passing the bags down. Except when the All Blacks do it, it's quite efficient and sensible. We've got our club captain taking one of the bags and just launching them at Rory Thornton's head every time he gets it. We're not quite the All Blacks in that regard, but I think ours is more character.
I wonder whether Rory Thornton fell asleep on him on the plane because of the size difference. He's just pinned him down.
I think it actually was Rory Thornton's birthday as well. I think that was his birthday present, was getting bags chucked at him by Liam Belcher. But anyway, yeah. So Belcher and Ben Thomas are in that video, so we've seen them out there. I think you've got Azarati, Sam Wainwright, and Mason Grady as well, who are also sort of not really involved. So you'd like to think that all three of them have gone out as well. We obviously don't know whether there's knocks or other reasons why they haven't gone, but we're going to assume that they're there for now. And then in the training video that they posted a couple of weeks ago, we saw Lucas De La Rua back involved, Talupe Faletau back involved, and Ewan Stevens back fit as well, so that's good to see. We do know that Mann, Botham and Adams hasn't gone, as we mentioned. Bowen also hasn't gone to South Africa. There was a question about that from somebody, and so we assume Stefan Manuel also hasn't gone, as well as the kind of lads in the under-20s who are there or thereabouts for the first team. And then elsewhere unavailable, you've got Ed Byrne. Fraser, have seen him yet? I don't know. How's Ed Byrne watch going?
I like Starley referring to it as an NFT as a real. I love that. Yeah.
So he's not there. Evan Lloyd is also picked up an injury, so don't believe that he's going to be fit. We haven't got a time scale yet, but he was spotted in a leg brace, I think, either at the Leinster game or just before it, so wouldn't expect him to be back yet. Long-term guys, Teddy Williams still out, Theo Cabango still out. Ben Donald's had a setback on his recovery, so I think the general feel is unless he gets sort of back fit right at the end and we've got an injury crisis, we've probably seen the last of him in a Cardiff shirt before his summer move to Ulster. And then Johan Mulder will be the one that I think will be a surprise to most people that he's not there. His wife gave birth a couple of days ago, so he, despite being South African and his wife being South African, he hasn't gone to South Africa. And we have noted that his child is now Welsh qualified, so we will be claiming said child when they grow up to be a rugby player. There is no South African qualification there. That child is purely Welsh.
If his kid's just been born, I'm surprised he wasn't on the plane. Like 2 days in, just go, okay, everyone's okay. I'm going away for a week.
He goes back to South Africa for the family support, but leaves the mother and the child in Canada. But yeah, so Johan's certainly not for this weekend. I don't know whether there might be a plan for him to fly out for the second week or not, but he's not going to be involved for this one, definitely. So we'll do a quick team selection on that, sort of roughly what we know there, gents. Fraser, front row, we've got the same trio in the loose head battling it out. Dom Machowski, Rhys Barrett, Danny Southworth, Doma, who did play for that Rags in that game against Aberavon, and I think he's officially shifted the Rags curse of getting the games called off now. So good to see him getting some action. Then we've got Liam Belcher and Dav Hughes at hooker, and then Sebastian Azarati and Sam Wainwright at tight head. Who's your starting three there for this one?
Yeah, it's tricky if we're looking at like Bulls as the one they pick a lesser group, or not lesser group, but they've changed some things up and then they focus more on the Sharks. And I guess maybe look at like Southworth to start at loose heads, Barrett on the bench, or Domachowski on the bench. Not don't mind either way really. And then I think David Hughes to start, then Belcher on the bench, and then I think I'd go for. I'd probably go Sebastian then start at tight head. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a general rule, it's probably not a bad approach to sort of say those guys who've been in the Welsh squad who haven't trained with the team over the last 2 or 3 weeks and are just settling back in. You'd think they'd probably be off the bench this weekend before coming back into it then next weekend, just as a kind of general rule of thumb, unless there was like overwhelming thing to start them. Tony, you look like you're going to say something there.
I'm just wondering whether you take the same approach with Belcher on that, because I personally would start Belcher here. 1, from a leadership point of view. 2, he's not played a lot of rugby. But 3, if we're going to target the next game against the Sharks, I want Dav Hughes running on hard tracks and because I think he offers us maybe a bit more dynamicism around the park. So
Is
that
that
would
a
be my
word?
own. I don't know. It is now. There's something else for Lee to chuck on a t-shirt. I'm easily swayed. I think it's very much a 50-50, but that is just how I was thinking. We can work out whether, by the way, Azarati has gone to South Africa by how much sun cream was left in duty free.
He's got that was what the bag that Belch was throwing at Thornton's head. It was the bag of factor 50 for Azarati. That's why it looks so
that was just for his head. There was 4 more for the other parts of his body.
I mean, Fraser, any sort of opposition to that? Or?
No, I think that Belcher, the leadership, I think that's a good shout, actually. Yeah, getting back in. I'm not
I'm
mad
easily
at
swayed
that.
either way, though, Fraser.
No, I do. I had that in the back of my head about where Belcher started, so I'm happy to go with that as well.
Cool. Second row, Tony McNally, not Thornton. Which one are you going for this weekend?
No, it's McNally or Thornton, right?
No, McNally, not as in George, not as in he's a player who plays for Cardiff.
I maybe
you twat.
I would go not Thornton, mainly because of what we said earlier about McNally running around in high altitude, no oxygen, and again targeting the next game as the big one.
Would you take him on the bench?
I mean, I've drunk too much coffee today, so I'm just a bit. Ooh.
Would you even take McNally on the bench, or would you maybe use I don't know, Al Lawrence as second row back, or Evan Rees, essentially?
I would. Very much depends on what the back row is, right? Because I don't think Faletau will have gone.
Do you not think he goes to South Africa at all? Do you not
I
think?
just don't think his legs are into it. And I should have asked him last week when I saw him at my kids' rugby. But yeah, I just don't think he goes. So you might be right about Al Lawrence reviving his second row career as a replacement there. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think you have McNally on the bench, but maybe don't use him.
Yeah.
That's
fair. So back row then, Fraser. We've got Basham, Dan Thomas, Al Lawrence, Lucas De La Rua, and then sort of, I don't know, if Faletau is available, do you like, let's say he has gone, but do you use him even if he's there, or would you start him, or would you bench him, or would you just leave him rest for this one and make sure he's 100% fit for when we actually do need him?
No, I think you start him because it's just so random as to when he's available or not. So you can't really you're like, oh, we'll save him for next week, and it's like, oh, he's out for 5 months.
If he's there, he plays.
Yeah, I think like you can't rely on him being ready.
He could step on a crack, and then all of a sudden he's broken like 4 bones. So
yeah, so if he's ready, play him.
Because he's stand up off the changing room bench and break 4 bones as well at this point. Who would you go with him then, Fraser? Are you like slotting Al Lawrence in somewhere else, or are you just leaving him? If Faletau's not there, then Lawrence is just your go-to man, and you've got 2 of the other guys as flanker.
Yeah, I think I'd probably maybe go Thomas and Basham, but then I don't know who's playing 6. I guess Basham would be the 6 in that situation. And Thomas has been on fire, like such good form. He's been brilliant. So yeah, I'd probably Thomas and Basham.
Yeah. And then Lawrence, if Faletau's not playing, and then in the 20 jersey, if he is playing.
Yeah, I think he can play 6 or 8, can't he? So
and 4.
Oh yes, second row as well.
Put him in inside centre if you need. Tony, halfbacks then. So we know Mulder's not available. So you've got Ali Davis, Ellis Bevan. We assume Ian Davis has come back and gone with the squad for this one as well. And then at 10, Sheedy, who looked like he was sort of half limped off against Leinster, but he's been in the training stuff, so we assume he's good. And then Johan Lloyd as well. What's your duo there?
Bevan had a broken hand, didn't he? And that's why he hasn't played, because it was still taped up against Leinster when he was going through warm-ups and stuff. So hopefully that's fit. Again, maybe again you start Bevan here with a view of Alan Davis, but maybe you just run Alan Davis and Sheedy until they can't go anymore.
So what's your answer?
Sorry, Davis and Sheedy. Davis and Sheedy. Sorry, I'm waffly.
Davis and Sheedy. Centres then, Fraser. We got Ben Thomas is there with Rory Jennings at inside centre, and then Millard is a sort of the lead runner for outside centre, I guess. But you do have Elijah Evans has been fit and could slot in there. Grady as well potentially if he's out there as well. What would be your centre duo?
I think Ben Thomas and Millard's. I know you want to save players, but I just think they're so much better than what we'd no slight on Elijah Evans or like Mason Grady be kind of picking people to fit a situation. Whereas if you've got them, they're fit. Rory Jennings, he's okay, but I probably would go Ben Thomas and Millard in this inside and outside centre.
Agree.
Yeah, having said that about the Wales players resting them, I feel like Ben Thomas hardly played as well for like a few
Yeah.
months. So even if you like put Jennings on the bench and like predetermined a 55-minute sub or something there just to get Ben Thomas into the swing of it without risking him too much.
Yeah, you need Thomas to try and get his confidence back up as well
Yeah.
after the Six Nations. So.
Wings then, Tony, I guess Stevens, Grady are you're only really two out and out wingers that we appear to have taken, but obviously Beetham slotted in there against Leinster and done quite well. You could angle a Matty Young or Elijah Evans into there. There is that Lee Halfpenny bloke still hanging around. He's gone out there, I saw. So, which way are you going with that?
So I would have said Grady, Evans, and Beetham as a back three. Grady on one wing, Evans on the other, and then Beetham's massive boot from 15, especially at altitude. You can start pinning them back corners. Evans is fast. Grady is apparently fast. And then you can just chase hard and just chase those. But yeah, play in the right areas and especially with the changes to the kick law, like just go for there. The only other thing is that you play Stevens instead of Elijah Evans and put Evans on the bench. But again, with the flip-floppy way of picking the squads, maybe you wait for Stevens to play next week. So or Beetham plays next week. So,
yeah, it's tricky always with the kicking a little bit in and that altitude as well because it is important, but you also don't want to like overkick, I guess, and just run out of lungs essentially after about like 50 minutes.
But if you're just pinning corners and even if the plan is then just to kick off pitch and having someone like Sheedy's got it's improved. Thomas can kick a distance. Beetham can kick a distance. It gives you three options there to escape. And if we're going to be blowing, at least there's an option to escape there.
I suppose my devil's advocate point would be this: South Africans run from everywhere, and so even if we do pin them back in their 22, they could just sort of run back up the field. If you kick to compete like shorter, it's still slightly less risk, you're slightly further away, but you do then have a chance of getting the ball back. Is that fair?
There's still like Millard's quite good. Or Millard's good in the air. Obviously coming from a wing position where he's played that quite a bit. Elijah Evans is good in the air. Grady can get up really high and slap it back as well.
Is tall.
Is tall. Well, but there seems to be the I can't remember what the phrase would be, but like everyone loves a big old slap back now.
Yeah.
So you see loads of chases. If you chase in two, for example, so Grady goes up to try and slap it back, and say Belcher runs straight on. What you saw quite a bit in the Six Nations, especially from Ireland, was they would have a player run straight past where the ball was going to go, have one lad go up to catch it, and then they're covering off if the other team was slapped it back, because then they can, because obviously no offside line, you catch ball, go, or you can make that tackle behind the gain line, and then it's still your team that's piling forward. So
Yeah, well, fair. And I'll never turn down an opportunity to see Elijah Evans get some more senior team minutes as well, because I don't think we've quite seen enough of him. He's been a little bit unlucky with injury, yeah, but yeah, I would definitely start Stevens next week. I think it's slightly lower altitude when we play the Sharks at Durban. I have a feel I can't remember exactly which ones are the altitude ones, but I'm pretty sure that's one of the more sea level type ones at Durban. And yeah, on a hard sea level South African track, Jan Stevens is. Or
Yeah.
Ewan Stevens as he is flying up and down the wing there. So bench then we've got Hughes, Barrett, Azarati, McNally, and Lawrence. Fraser. I suppose my first question is 6-2 or 5-3 there? Do you put so if let's say Faletau is there and then Lawrence is on the bench, you could put De La Rua sort of 21 then as well and go 6-2, or you could bring Evan Rees onto there as well if Faletau wasn't there and Lawrence had to start. What would you, or would you rather have three fit backs to come on later in the game?
I think maybe 5-3. Yes, I guess if it's high altitude, like getting knackered, then you might need to make those changes in the back line. And it's like again, it's like you put in Lucas De La Rua is good. Yeah, there's potential there. And Evan Rees, I don't know a huge amount about like where he's at, really, what level he can be. So I think if you had them on the bench, it's a little bit more. You're not sure what you're getting if they come
Yeah.
on. Whereas if we have 5-3, that's the way we've played all season, really. Then I'd probably stick with that, to be honest.
Uh, Tony then, so I've got Bevan as your backup scrum half, and then I think it's probably fair to say that Johan Lloyd is on there somewhere
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
10, 15, 12. He could come on for Ben Thomas if that's who you were wanting to sort of replace. In a broken up game at altitude, it probably wouldn't matter too much. He's a bit smaller, to be honest, so it might be a fine 23 jersey. Then you've got Winnett. Who did you say? Who was your back three? Beetham, Grady, and Evans, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got Winnett, Young, Stevens, Jennings. Who would you have in that 23 jersey?
Probably win it.
Yeah.
Because then you get centre cover from Lloyd and Grady. You've got 10 cover
And
from
Beetham.
Lloyd, Thomas, yeah, and Beetham. And then you've got fullback cover with Winnett. You've got wing cover with Beetham or Lloyd. Like it covers off a multitude of sins from a 5-3.
Probably also your two best impact players there, Lloyd
Yeah.
and Winnett as well, coming on, and Bevan as well. To be fair, I think it'll suit
Especially
him.
as the game starts to break up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Just
Right,
really
so
want Bevan to go back to the sort of player, like the
Yeah.
Mike Phillips sort of player that he was when he first broke, where he was trying to break, like pick and go on his own and fighting people off. He just seems to have lost the want to do that. We've seen flashes of it. I think we saw it in a preseason friendly. I just really want more from him with ball in hand, because I think
if
he can deliver it.
if it is Alid to start and then Bevan comes on, I think there's a huge opportunity for Bevan to make an impression in that
Yeah.
last 20 minutes
Yeah.
and then start next week. Because that could, like, if we're going to go and take the game to the Sharks and fancy it, that would then be your option of Bevan starting with Davis to come on and manage the last 20 rather than. I think this is probably better to be a bit more sensible from the start this weekend and have Davis there. But yeah, Bevan's got a real opportunity to come on and make a difference there. 1 to 23 then, with a couple of depends on if certain players are there or not. So we got Southworth, Belcher, Sebastian, Not Thornton, Basham, Thomas, and then Faletau if he's available, Lawrence if not. Davis, Sheedy, Evans on one wing, Thomas and Millard in the centre, Grady and Beetham finishing off the starting 15. We've got Hughes, Barrett, Azarati, McNally, Lawrence if he doesn't start, and De La Rua if Lawrence does start. Bevan, Johan Lloyd, and Cam Winnett as our selected 23/24. Fraser, obviously at altitude, like Bulls are still a good team or not. What would you be happy with at full time on Friday, at the very late full time of 7 p.m. on Friday?
I think I know Ospreys got like, wasn't it 53-40 or something they played when they played the Bulls earlier in the season? Was that right? Something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
was like the first game of the
Yeah,
season or something
yeah.
like
I
that.
would be happy with something like that. Just like a bit of a batshit game. But we score some really nice tries. We look good. We front up. We're not completely steamrolled in like the pack and stuff like that. And yeah, we get bonus points. So even, yeah, probably try bonus point. But yeah, that's why I'd be happy coming out of that match with that result, even if that doesn't sound very like positive or like, oh, I want to win. But yeah, I would be satisfied with that.
Tony?
I'd take 2 points if I was offered them now. I would love like a point is minimum, I think. I'd take 2 points. But yeah, like I said, if we go and try and play rugby like we know we can, then we can put ourselves in a good position to see what's happening in the last quarter and go from there.
Yeah, 2 games we've played and we haven't taken a point from Bulls away yet, but we've got close.
Mm.
I think we were 3 tries last time we went there, and we're a better team now than then at the end of last season. So yeah, on progression wise, that says score 4 tries and sort of see how you're getting on and go from there. Really.
Was it them that was really mean at the right at the very end of the one of the
Yeah, they
games
took
where
a
they
No.
took a
penalty.
penalty
Or
to
was it?
Wasn't that
knock us
wasn't that
out of seven
Stormers? I think it
points?
was
I
Oh,
don't
it was
Stormers. It
know.
was
Stormers. Yeah,
the
it was
Bulls was the week
Stormers.
before, and
Okay,
then the Stormers killed. Yeah, just were spiteful. So we
it's
got them
just
last game of the
mean.
season again, so we can be mean to them this time somehow. Good stuff. Any other business piece? A question that came in from Mark Davis on, I can't remember what social media platform, one of them. It said, is it a concern that we haven't announced any arrivals or renewals yet, unlike other clubs? Appreciate the takeover, etc., but we did sign PRA 25. All I would say, Mark, is keep refreshing your social media feed towards the end of this week and over the next few weeks. I think the plan is to start making some certainly re-signing announcements anyway soonish. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you news of a couple of them next week as that gets underway. Gents,
It,
anything more?
no, just that it must be really difficult for the club to try and work out when they can make those announcements, but with everything that's going on,
Mm.
because you don't want to like no matter when they're announced, we're going to get the WRU team comments,
Yeah.
but like we were talking about before, we were there, we signed the PRA before. It is what it is, but also I guess they're just trying to be a bit conscious of everyone else and things that are going on. But no one's
Yeah.
going to like us no matter what we do. So I just think just just go at them.
That's the way it goes. Fraser, anything else?
No, no. I just think, yeah, it's difficult as also to attract people to Welsh rugby, isn't it? Like, even if we are technically stable and we're going to be around for the next or the foreseeable future, we're still in
Yeah.
the situation, aren't we? The
Yeah.
Y11 are part of our future, apparently, and like, does anyone trust them really? Not really. Like, it's hard to. I imagine it's really difficult to persuade someone new sign in, and be like, yeah, come to us. We're a good place to be if they've got other options. Yeah, so yeah, it's tricky.
Especially with the risk that if the Ospreys do go, or any of the teams go, then there's a load of Welsh qualified players that are top level that could be looking for clubs, and at that point, anyone who signs for us now, will their game time be limited in the next 12 months because we've been told to pick up these lads by WU or whatever it is, or we've managed to get them on the cheap or whatever, and then all of a sudden the lads that we've signed this year are on the way out because there's we suddenly picked up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an
Tricky.
interesting one, isn't it?
Tricky situation, yeah, and very obviously at this point of time, though we haven't mentioned any of the off-field stuff on this pod, but we still are absolutely none the wiser on what happens, like even towards the end of the season, let alone the next year or two. So if you're a prospective player, you're also none the wiser, and you're trying to commit, and then yeah, best of luck with that. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Mark. That we'll have a bit of good news to talk about, hopefully, and some squad developments ahead of next season in the next few weeks. Good stuff. Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Fraser.
Cheers then.
We'll be back next week to look back on that Bulls game and we'll look ahead to the Sharks as well as picking up any news. But until then, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.